There is always one really hard question that comes up from time to time when people find out that I'm in recovery. It's the one that I dread. It's the one that I hope people don't ask. And it's not because I don't have an answer to it, it's that people aren't going to like the answer I give. What can I do to get someone to stop drinking? And my answer is the same every time, the same response like muscle memory. Nothing. There's nothing you can do to make them stop. It's not really that cut and dry, but for the most part, it's true. When you're locked in drinking, you don't really care about how it's affecting the people around you. You either don't care or you don't have the insight to look. But drinking doesn't just ruin your life. It ruins the lives of everyone who cares about you. If for no other reason, they're literally watching you die. And those people don't understand why you just can't stop. If it's ruining your relationship, costing you jobs, alienating you from your children, and literally taking your life, why are you still doing it? Why can't you stop? And more importantly, why can't you stop for them? I'll tell you a secret. Something that most alcoholics don't even know themselves, even though they think it. I know I thought it. You ready? In the back of our heads, we honestly don't think this is going to kill us. Even in the middle of active addiction, we still maintain that one day we're going to turn all this around, that all of this is just temporary, that one day it'll stop. Statistically, we know that's not true, but we believe it anyway. And the reason why we believe it is simple, because we don't want to stop. We want to keep drinking, but we just want everyone to be okay with it. The hard reality, though, is that only 1 out of 3 people truly recover from alcoholism. And the other 2 out of 3, they either die from it or they die a lot earlier than they should have. And they die with a silent thought in the back of their head that one day they were going to turn this around. And for the people on the outside looking in, there was absolutely nothing you could have done to prevent that. It sucks, I know it does. Most people can't accept that. Most people will go crazy before they give up and accept that. They'll go crazy trying to help people who refuse the help. They'll force the help onto that person, and I get why. They love them, and they think they're helping. And they won't even realize that sometimes all they're doing is making it 1,000 times worse. Because unless that person wants to stop, they're just going to keep doing what they're doing. And all you're doing is dying right there alongside them. I realized at a very young age that my mom was different. My mom and dad were married for 46 years before she passed away, and anyone that knew them knew that that was probably 44 years longer than they should have been married. My father had a life-ruining porn addiction that she ignored and hid from everyone, including my brother and me. I didn't really know a lot of that till after she died. I remember them fighting a lot when I was a kid, and I found out later she stayed with them for us, but honestly, she was never really happy. So, my mom found happiness in other ways. She had a lot of pets, for instance. Like, a lot. Seriously, like 30. And their house was a living thing. Constant furniture being moved around, new wallpaper every other year, entire rooms filled with clothes, tags still on them. Anything to try and find the happiness she wasn't getting elsewhere. And she focused on the things she could control. Like my brother and me. We always had toys, TVs, video games, whatever she could do to keep us happy, but we weren't allowed to go out, and we weren't allowed to have friends over. My brother and me were basically just more pets to my mom, and it worked when I was a kid. It worked great. But when I got older and I started making friends, that's when I kind of saw how sick my mom was. I started going out more, but she was constantly trying to keep me in the house. She didn't want me to stay home. She needed me to stay home. She immediately assumed I was doing bad things. My curfew was 9 p.m., and if I did go out, I came home to my room ransacked. She was determined to catch me doing whatever it was she thought I was doing, and the weird thing was, other than smoking cigarettes, I wasn't really doing anything at all. And I stole the cigarettes from her purse. I just wanted to be a normal teen, and the newest video games weren't keeping me in the house any longer. I was sick of being a pet. Free tip for anyone listening. Setting a 9 o'clock curfew for your kids and constantly going into their room and going through their stuff looking for things, that's not going to have the positive effect you think it will. For the most part, It's just going to drive that person away even harder. And in some cases, make them want to do the things that you thought they were doing. And that's exactly what I did. Senior week after high school, I tried booze for the first time and I was hooked. Shortly afterwards, I moved into my first apartment. I was 18 and that apartment was 7 East. Watch Career Paths on this channel if you want to know more. Even then, she told the landlord we were drinking. Some days she would sit across the street from the apartment, follow my friends home, asked what I was doing. She was determined to get me back. Even when I started teaching and I kind of got my life together, my coworkers all thought that it was strange that I would never really talk about my mom and dad. I never thought my parents would be in my life again, at least not that much, and definitely not unless it was on my terms. But by 2009, life events forced me to do something I never thought I would do. With my drinking completely out of control now, and with nowhere left to go, I ended up moving back in with my parents. I was 30 years old. In my mom's mind, I was the same 15-year-old boy that she had to stay one step ahead of. And she absolutely was not letting her little boy get away again. Before I go any further, I want to point out, I'm eternally grateful for my parents, don't get me wrong. A lot of people in the middle of active addiction don't even have that option. But it was bad, man. And at first it was okay. But within months, I started to see the cracks. I don't know if my mother blamed herself for what was happening with me. I mean, I'm assuming yes, but we never talked about it. But she made the most fundamental mistake a person can make when dealing with an alcoholic. She tried to control it. She tried to control it and ignore it at the same time. In her mind, we picked up right where we left off 12 years ago, the cat and mouse. This was 100% when I turned pro with my drinking. I was drinking more than ever, and that's because I hated my life. All I ever wanted was to get out from underneath my mom's control, to get out of that madhouse, and now I had no other choice but to stay there. And I was going to do my damnedest to not become one of her pets. If I left for the weekend, I would come back to the room completely ransacked. She would make friends with whatever girl I was dating so she'd keep tabs on me. Once I got a car, my mother would take the keys with her to work so I couldn't leave the house. The plan was to keep me locked away, because in her mind, I got away once and look what happened. But the more she tried to keep me locked away, the more I would find ways to get out. I would call cabs, I would walk 6 miles to the liquor store, I would stay with people who drank, people I didn't even like. It became a sick game. And it went on for 7 years. And around the end, when she started losing, she just conceded and actually let me drink. Just as long as I didn't leave her again, I could drink at the house. I was sick of fighting her, sick of trying to crawl out. So I crawled in. I started to become part of my mother's world. She had finally figured out what toy to use. Letting me drink is what would make me stay. The video games were just replaced with booze. If I didn't leave, I could get what I wanted. That was the deal. Just don't leave and you get what you want. And I almost went along with it. I almost went along with it like my father had done for years, except for the obvious problem. It just wasn't real. And I had been avoiding reality for long enough already. Sarah came into the picture in 2017. Poor Sarah. She came in right in the middle of the Bob and Mom games. My mom tried to become friends with Sarah, but thankfully Sarah recognized how weird the whole situation looked and had no interest in being friends with my mom. There was still some back and forth with my parents' house when Sarah and I started dating. Listen to a power greater than me on this site for that whole story. But I officially left that situation in February 2021. After 12 years, I left my parents' house for the last time, and I never looked back, and I was sober. It wasn't until I was about a year sober that I started having a better relationship with my mother. I just started letting a lot of that anger go, just started seeing the pointlessness. I started looking at it from sober eyes. I started calling her more. She came to our house for dinner once with my dad, and I even went to her house a few times with Blur. I had learned to forgive her. I remember Christmas 2021 at my aunt and uncle's house. My mom and I were outside, and she actually asked me, "What finally made you quit drinking?" I told her the same thing I tell anyone who asks me. Sarah. It was Sarah. She seemed hurt. I could see it in her face. "Why Sarah?" she asked, but what she really meant was, "Why not me?" Sarah never gave up on me, I finally settled on. You didn't either, but it was different. Sarah never gave me an ultimatum. She never told me it was her or the bottle. She didn't force me to get help. She never even told me I couldn't drink. She didn't try to control it because she realized that that wasn't going to work. She just wouldn't tolerate the drinking. Sarah was strong enough to let me go. I don't know if that makes sense. "Bobby, I could never kick you out. You're my son," she said. "Sometimes I wonder if you should have," I said back. And again, I thought of my dad and her and their marriage. I wonder if she was thinking that too. And it turns out, I'll never get to know. In 2022, my father fell and he was in a rehab facility for a few months, trying to learn how to walk again. That Thanksgiving, my mother asked if Sarah and I wanted to go with her to visit him. And for the first time in my life, I went willingly. I wasn't forced to go. It was my choice. I wanted to go. I remember my mother and I walking to the table to sit with my dad. Sarah was walking ahead of us. I was holding my mother's hand. She had finally stopped trying to control me, and I finally stopped resenting her. For the first time since I was a child, I was spending time with my mother sober, and we had a relationship. After 44 years, we had found peace with each other. 23 days later, my mother passed away. A lot of things came to light after my mother died. I never realized what a strain my father's porn addiction had on my mom, how much she kept from everyone. A lot of questions got answered as to why she was acting the way she was. I realized my mother wasn't doing any of these things to be vicious. She was doing them because she was confused. She didn't know what to do to make it stop. Just like she didn't know what to do to make it stop with my father. Just like a lot of people don't know what to do. The issue my mother never understood was you can't fix alcoholism. It's almost impossible. You can't force someone to do something they don't internally want to do. You can't give them an ultimatum. You can't hide them away in your house. And you can't pretend it's not happening. And you definitely can't just tell them to stop. And unfortunately, you can't tell them it's you or the bottle, because statistically, 66% of people will choose the bottle. They have to come to it on their own. And sometimes, as hard as it is, you have to know when to walk away from that. As for my first initial statement about there being nothing you can do for someone, I want to clarify that a little. There's nothing you can do to make someone stop, but there's lots you can do to help them. First and foremost, be there, but not at the cost of your own sanity. My mom taught me that lesson. But that's all Sarah did. She was there. She endured. And sometimes that's the hardest part, staying. Because alcoholics want you to leave. Believe me, they want you to go so they can go back to their first love. Another wonderful resource is Al-Anon. To anyone listening to this looking for advice, look into Al-Anon. Also, go to AA meetings with the person you love. Stop asking what you can do to make them stop and start asking, what can I do to better understand what you're going through? And I get that that's hard, but sometimes, rarely sometimes, you might just save that person's life. And as a direct result from saving their lives, you might make a whole lot of other people's lives better, including your own. And Mom, wherever you are right now, if you can see this, I want you to know that none of this was your fault. You did the best with what you had. But I miss you, and I thank you for your sense of humor and your ability to tell a story. But I want you to not worry about me. I grew up strong, and I'm starting to realize that I might just be the one out of three.